we're now going to look at the first stage of our model for content creation, and this is preparation. So we're going to start off with our purpose, and that's simply what is the purpose of the content we're about to be creating. It could be for applying for a new job. It could be the one who is supposed to be writing a new job description. It could be preparing or presenting some information to a committee meeting. It could be replying to an email, creating a blog post, taking notes, etc. The point is that in our preparation, we have to be absolutely clear on why it is we are creating our content. Being clear on why we are creating our content is only one part of it. We also need to know who we're actually going to be creating the content for. Are we creating the content for a prospective employer or a client? Are we creating it for a current employee who is changing a role? Are we creating content to present to a committee of management? Are we writing content for a close family member? Do we have a reader base we're creating content for? Or are you creating content for yourself to be used at some stage in the future? Next up, we're going to be looking at the constraints. And this is, well, what are the minimum requirements that we can work within when we're creating this content? Some constraints could be a time constraint, a budget constraint, or a quality constraint. Those three constraints are typically used in project management, but it applies to creating content as well. Some constraints could be marketing guidelines, organizational policy and procedure, corporate style, and branding. We may also have constraints such as word limitation. Knowing why we're creating the content, who we're creating it for, and what framework we're creating it within, we also need to imagine what the desired outcome will be. And I have in quotes here, in an ideal world, these actions will. And this is just to get us thinking about, well, what is the desired outcome when we've completed this document? Could it be that we're creating content for landing the perfect job, recruiting great staff members, impressing our committee of management, persuading a family member, attracting traffic to your website, or being able to see all the great things that you've done this year? Of course, a big part of our preparation is research. So we need to look at online search techniques, using traditional media, how we can look at a feed of content and look at how we can get the best from that content. So we'll be looking at content curation, and other methods of research will be conferences and classes. And then we will look at, well, how are we going to capture and organize the research that we've done? The last part of the preparation is going to look at the technology we will be using. Are we going to use word processing software? Will we be using presentation software? Are we creating something for print, so we need to use desktop publishing software? Are we simply taking notes for ourselves, so will we be using note-taking software? For creating drafts, we'll definitely work with text editors. And we also need to know a little bit about files and file formats when we're working with different technologies. And of course, when we're creating content, we also need to know which fonts are ideal. And if we need specialty software, we also need to know what software we need. So this is the first phase of creating content.